Thank you very much for the invitation to speak today. I'm lucky enough to lead this piece of work on behalf of the Centre for Digital Built Britain. It's part of the Construction Innovation Hub programme, so Innovation Hub logo in the top left-hand corner. And a couple of the other speakers are part of the expert group as well. So Emma Hooper, who's recorded a presentation, and Sarah Amy.
Fiona.
I'm hearing somebody else with their microphone still on. So, about me just briefly, but this is not about me. I'm lucky enough to have been involved in BIM for nearly 10 years. I was part of the Ministry of Justice supply chain. I was lead designer on the UK's government's first ever BIM project at Cookham. Baptism of fire, and at the other end of that was invited to join the UK BIM task group, supporting various government departments with their BIM journey. I learnt a lot. Working towards the 2016 mandate was interesting, and luckily I'm still involved with government through my chairmanship of the cross-government group, the Public Sector ISO Transition Working Group, and I'm part of CDBB's implementation team. Enough about me. Interoperability, why are we talking about it? Well, let's start with a definition of interoperability, and let's keep it really simple. It's the ability of two or more systems to exchange information, and most importantly, not just exchange it, but be able to use the information that's been exchanged. And our focus goes beyond capital phase procurement and looks towards whole life asset management and the whole assets life cycle. And for that reason, we have this focus on information being exchanged across a contract line. So it's all very well and good having collaboration when you're out there, as I was, part of the supply chain within your own team using proprietary systems. But what does it mean when you pass that information over to your client, when you are trying to exchange that information into many enterprise systems of different proprietary natures? So what we need is this interoperability. And what we start to need to consider is the use of technologies and openness, in that many technologies do have the solution, but if it's a one solution, then that doesn't fit our remit of openness and the ability for people to use whatever technologies they see fit. So in short, when we're referencing interoperability, it's this simple ask, the ability of two or more systems to exchange information and make use of it. When we're considering this as part of the BIM Interoperability Expert Group, we've gone beyond just strategy and theory, and what we're constantly challenging ourselves with is real world application. I think in the UK, I mean, Duncan started with a lot of the emerging standards, processes, but what we need to get into is practice, what it means at the sharp end. And my fateful question when sat in front of on Cookham Wood, where's the Kobe button? There are some really skilled people out there, and I don't want to diminish their abilities, not least of which would be Emma Hooper, who can make this work, but it needs a lot of hard work. And one of the questions is, how do we help people in industry to land this more efficiently and more effectively? And we're looking at the short term now and in the next 5 years. If you hear Mark Enzer speak on the subject, he will rightly say that a lot of the work we're doing in interoperability is the foundation to the digital twin. And that is our hope, that if we land interoperability in the BIM world in the right way, then it creates very strong foundations for the digital twin. But the work that we're doing shouldn't be confused with the work of the digital twin, although we are having a dialogue with them to understand a translation piece between the information management framework and the here and now. But I can't say strongly enough how important it is to keep focusing on real world application in what we're doing. And it came out of a conversation where, you know, I was speaking to people at CDBB and saying, we have a process, the practice is somewhat different. So what we decided to do on the basis that, you know, I'd made that flippant statement, is go out and gather evidence from practitioners out there in industry, practitioners, BIM experts, information management experts, technology vendors, some of whom you know and love, Duncan, and also client organisations, and ask them a series of questions and start to see patterns emerge and the strength of evidence received. So the questions were simple. How are you currently achieving information / data and openness and interoperability? What problems do you encounter? What do you think could be used to deliver interoperable BIM data in future? And again, just that short-term time frame, not too far ahead. And what needs to change / happen to achieve interoperability? And I suppose in drafting question 4, we were going beyond process and technologies into the people and educational element of this. Heard from a list of 21 organisations and individuals, and we started to see patterns in what was being said. In fact, we went through a very rigorous process of recording everything that was said, rereading everything that was said over many hours, starting to spot common themes and identify the bulk of opinion that we were receiving. Some of the opinion was outlying, but we were still cognizant of that. And we drafted the BIM Interoperability Expert Group report early this year. That was then shared for comment and was published. The publication date was early April, although on the report it would say March, a bit naughty. Anyway, so we went through that rigorous process and we listened, and one of the major things we heard is the need for continued government promotion of BIM delivery. The BIM mandate has never gone away. Yes, we had the objective of meeting the mandate by 2016, April 2016, but because that date has come and gone, there's this sense, you know, where is the mandate now? So what we've been able to do is put back to government the need to continue promotion of the mandate, and government is listening, so watch this space. You know, we would like to make more robust and concrete that mandate, and I can see that potentially happening. So we listened to that, and that was quite an early win. In fact, you know, we didn't really need to convince government, just remind them that we needed to continue on this journey and continue with the success that the BIM mandate brought. Then we went on to put together a set of primary recommendations and secondary recommendations based on the evidence heard. I won't read them all out. You should be able to see them on the screen, and I will go into details as to what these have turned into in terms of the work. So what we did is we put together a committee to hear this evidence. The committee were made up of members of government, so government at the heart of this. Department of Business, Innovation, Energy and Skills, and the Infrastructure Projects Authority, which is part of the Cabinet Office, are very much leading and steering this piece of work. In fact, those who heard the evidence now form a steering group, and the steering group is chaired by a member of BIES. Also, some of the people mentioned today, Terry Stocks was involved in hearing that evidence. Alex Luck, who authored Part 5, was involved in that. Various members from government departments listened to this evidence, and as I say, those people became the steering group. Then a number of people that we heard evidence from became the expert group. So when I refer to the BIM Interoperability Expert Group, I'm referring to those people that now form 7 work streams. And we've even, as you'll have noticed from the top right hand side of the screen, come up with our own logo. This is not playing very well. I don't know whether it's coming across well on your screens. It played well until I was hooked up to Teams. And more on that in a little bit. We have a logo and an animation you'll see there that's now repeating itself, which is very helpful. Bear with me and I'll move on. And I'll talk more about the purpose and ethos of the Interoperability Expert Group. We have currently 7 interoperability work streams, and we kicked off the work of those work streams back in June. The first one is classification, and specifically this is led by MBS's Sarah Delaney in relation to Uniclass, and Sarah will be talking to you this afternoon about the importance of Uniclass to. You'll see on the right hand side of the screen when it comes to listing primary recommendations that classification schema alignment was what people made reference to, as well as the importance of Uniclass. There is a lot of schema alignment going on, not least of which to NRM, SFG 20, and that continues. But moreover, there's work needed to be done re Uniclass, how it's managed, how it's improved. It's already an excellent piece of work, and I'm not just saying that because Sarah's listening to me, but how industry plays into that efficiently and how we go from strength to strength and make it better. The second work stream is Industry Foundation Class and COBE. And the first thing we recognise as part of that work stream is the need to better explain the link between Industry Foundation Class and model view definitions, one of which is COBE. You hear a lot of arguments, is either or. Do we go for IFC as a means of information exchange? Do we go for COBE? And Emma's recording that will be presented this afternoon goes a long way to explaining that, and we hope landing a better understanding of IFC and COBE. This is a personal viewpoint, but one of the things I really struggle with in this area is a lack of respect for the various players in the process, in that you hear from client organisations, just give me the information. And sometimes they miss the fact that there's an originator somewhere sat with some authoring software that has to start the process off. And so increasingly, I think we all need to learn what the process is really about and respect all the links in the chain and all the important parts that people play in the process. So to that end, the third work stream, ably led by Andy Bootle of Kia, is about education and skills. So I'm not just talking about writing curriculums and learning outcomes frameworks, because we're a long way off from doing that, but actually taking the work of the other work streams and exposing it and engaging with you, and I mean you. So if we're to up our game to improve these various elements that will help achieve interoperability, we need to demonstrate the ability for various people to collaborate, properly understand this, but we also need to explain ourselves and engage with industry. So that work stream will be increasingly holding roundtables, workshops, and we're looking for stakeholders all the time. But these are stakeholders who can help us technically and have technical insight into various elements of interoperability. Also, that work stream has done a piece of work with the other work streams to map out the potential benefits of interoperability. So we've looked at the various personas across industry, the various elements of interoperability, and we've put together, Andy and Phil Reed of Man and Machine have put something together which starts to explain to those persona why this is important to them and what benefits it will deliver. That's nearly over the line, and that will be posted up onto the Centre for Digital Built Britain website shortly, and I'll let Duncan and the team know when that's posted so you can get access to it. And the same with Emma's presentation you'll see this afternoon. That's being chunked up into 8 easy 5-minute presentations, which will also be up on the website. So watch this space. There'll be a lot more resource and information coming your way. The fourth work stream that is led by David Churcher, and he is supported by Dan Rossiter of BS. David Churcher is very involved, as you'll know, probably through the UK BIM Alliance and drafting standards, is our standards work stream. So whereas I said it's very much applied and we're not just about process, everything happens within the context of standards. And what Dan and David have been doing is mapping various standards that reach far beyond ISO 19650, 1192, and looking at other standards that make reference to interoperability and starting to map out where there's challenges, where there's clashes in standards, duplication, but more important, contradiction, with a view to sharing those findings with the other work streams to inform them, but ultimately share those findings more widely. We don't expect people to sit there with their standards open on their desks. Sorry, you know, there's a lot of people who are giving a lot of time for free to write the UK BIM framework guidance, I know. And the reason is because we don't expect people to sit and interpret the standards every time. So the more we can do to help people ease their way into standards, the better. So those were the primary recommendations out of the report that have turned into work streams. Secondary recommendations that we've picked up in this financial year. The first one was originally called the AIM CDE. Some of you may know of a report that was published some time ago that came out of the cross-government BIM working group around an AIM CDE, a client-side asset information model common data environment. That has been renamed as something called the Information Management Platform, and it refers to a platform which allows clients to define their information requirements, procure their information requirements, have a platform for receiving them, assuring them, but most importantly, I think, to protect that information. If you think of a CDE as an ecosystem of enterprise systems, once you let your information out there, it's going to degrade. You're not going to be able to trust it. And how do you get it back? So the idea of what we're calling, you know, cutely the IMP, is that you, as an information procurer, are able to protect that information, repurpose that information, assure that information over time. So when we're looking about interoperability and its importance being to contract for information and exchange it over the contract line, that is a very important work stream, and it's led by Graham Tappenden, who's helped many government departments in this regard, but works very closely with the Environment Agency in a lot of this work. So he's lending his experience and learning to us. Then we have a work stream standard information approach, which is just kicked off. It's led by Anne Kemp herself, and it's looking at various approaches to defining information requirements, to try and look at a standard approach to information requirements for those clients, unlike someone like the Environment Agency, who's less hands-on and mature in their approach, to approach definition of information requirements in a vanilla way is the term we're using, but also how these various elements, be a product data template approach or a client top-down OIR, AIR approach, meet in the middle. So a lot of what she'll be doing is looking at the other work streams and how they all play together. And then last and not least, led by Simon Lewis, we are looking at procuring for interoperability. So not the procurement in its broadest sense, but what is it that procurers need to do to make sure that they procure information and assure the delivery of that information contractually. And at the moment, we're looking, as you might imagine, at what's coming out of the new regulations related to Grenfell, and really scrutinising what duties that puts on procurers, because of course we're not going to land a golden thread of information in a modern way without BIM and proper information management. So that's a massively quick romp through the work streams we've got in play at the moment. You'll get more from the first two, Sarah Delaney in terms of classification, and Emma Hooper, who leads, although she's on maternity now, but leads the IFC and COBE work stream. I can't say strongly enough how important it is, and I've said it once already, that we engage with you. There's the work streams there. Each of those work streams has an arrowhead against it, and I said I'd explain on. We need to engage with you. We need to listen to you. We need to share and pool our information and collaborate. We're not going to land interoperability by assuming that one individual or one organisation has the answer. So the way we put our logo together is to say each of those arrowheads, each of those work streams builds up the picture together. So it's all about listening and respecting one another and building the bigger picture over the time frame we've got. So I look forward to hearing from those of you who would like to contribute, and I look forward to sharing with you through medium like this what exactly we're up to. It's a massive ask. There's more that we need to do, and there's more work streams that we could put in play. But, you know, with the right attitude, we're already starting to see improvements, like discussions around the continuation of the BIM mandate, like the ability to share with industry what IFC and COBE really mean to certain people in the delivery of information and interoperability. So my last slide is have a look on the websites. Increasingly there'll be more resources there. Look out for blogs that are coming up and articles, and please contact us on the contact details on the next slide. If you want to play a part in this, please get in touch. That's everything from me. Thank you.